Hello again, everybody. This is John and Glenn with BestPriceNutrition.com. Today we're going to do a video on supplements for runners. You know, we were talking about this, and a lot of people ask about, hey, what supplements are good for specific sports? And you know, the truth is sometimes, you know, my knee-jerk reaction is, well, that's kind of gimmicky because you know, it doesn't always apply. But we thought about it a little bit, and there is some significance between sports and what you would need. You know, for instance, runners really wouldn't need to take creatine. I mean, there could be an argument that it could help because if they're doing more explosive training to help their distance runners, and there's a lot of research to show that that does help. But if they're not doing any of that and they're just, you know, the average, you know, weekend warrior and they like to run distance, then it's really not going to help.
Yeah, because creatine is dealing with the fast twitch muscle fibers and increasing power output immediately, not something that's going to be over a long period of time.
It doesn't help aerobic endurance. You know, taking creatine and somebody tells you they ran a 5K faster, it just doesn't correlate. You know, maybe in the training leading up to it, it can help them recover better and stuff, then definitely. But we're going to try and focus a little more specific here to running, and specifically distance running. Now, supplements need to be thought of as just that. They're there to supplement the diet, to fill in holes in your diet and, you know, maybe increase certain things to improve performance that you really couldn't attain a certain level of just from diet alone. So that's where they come into play. The big thing with runners is that if you're running a lot, let's say you're a marathoner, well, you're really beating yourself up.
You're depleting your glycogen stores, and your body's going to look to other methods to provide energy. And a lot of times you're going to break into muscle fibers. And
your stress hormones are going to go up and things like that. Now, in a perfect world with a perfect diet and stuff, yeah, you could probably take care of a lot of stuff. So what we're going to do is say if this is the situation, then this supplement would help best. So one that we would consider to be essential would be omega-3 fatty acids. Even if you do eat a lot of cold water fish, most people don't eat enough. You know, saying you eat tilapia, that doesn't count. There's not the fats in there. So
especially with say you're eating salmon and things like that, you've got to eat quite a bit of that to get a good hefty dose of omega-3s. And then you've got your differences in, you know, farm raised versus wild caught salmon and things like that.
And the cost too involved can kind of build up. And also we've talked too is the modern diet being such that it is, we need more omega-3s to offset the amount of other essential fats that we're getting, omega-6s and 9s, because you need a certain ratio, and that there's some debate as to, you know, what the exact ratio is. Bottom line is there's a lot of research to show that, you know, omega-3s, especially EPA, is needed. Brain health, controlling, you know, inflammation, just
joint health is very important with that. It has a whole thing in hair, skin, and nails. It's very good for, but as applies to running, I would say more so, you know, the brain health and the inflammation response.
Do that, and help you. I mean, just in general, they're going to work with eicosanoids, which is going to be a really potent cell signalers in the body that can tell your body to turn on inflammation, turn off inflammation, and just a whole lot of things that, you know, we have separate videos up that you know, we spend a lot of time going in depth, so you could check those out. So right away, omega-3s, you know, I pretty much say is essential. You know, next up is another joint supplement that some people like is Wobenzym.
Yeah, Wobenzym is it's a blend of what's called proteolytic enzymes, or enzymes that help break down protein. And it's very good for inflammation in the body. What it does is it hits that buildup of inflammation in the joints and in the body in general, and breaks that inflammation down, and it's so that it's not sitting like if you have problems with your knees and your elbows, things like that. It breaks that inflammation down and controls the inflammation response in the body.
It helps your body naturally respond to it to, you know, draw blood away from a joint area, which sometimes, you know, there's an argument that, you know, reducing it is bad, but this is working with your body to do it. You know, kind of it's more working with homeostasis instead of popping NSAIDs. You know, so if you're popping ibuprofen and, you know, you're worried about the, you know, necrosis in the kidneys from that, or, you know, other issues depending upon what NSAID you're talking about. You know, sometimes it's necessary. So there's some research that can be found on Wobenzym. So that's something that, you know, we find a lot of runners like to go to. You know, other things we don't have them up there like power gels. It's just a quick carbohydrate source if you're doing really long distance running. We're not talking about somebody doing a 5K. There's no need to squirt, you know, carbs in your mouth if you're doing a 5K. It's a shorter distance. So another specific thing is glutamine. Now, glutamine is something you hear a lot in the bodybuilding world, and to be honest, for bodybuilders and just people who are, you know, training regularly like that aren't running for 2 and 3 hours at a time, you know, marathoners, super marathoners, what have you, glutamine is not really going to be helpful because all the research that's been done is really on like AIDS patients and burn victims, and And a person just doing everyday workouts, it's just not destroying themselves that much. So it's ethereal in terms of the idea that they can extrapolate studies done on burn victims and stuff and say, oh, okay, well, it's going to help you recover if your body goes. That's not the case, because it's not an essential amino acid. Your body can make it, and it becomes conditionally essential in times of high stress. Burn victims and stuff, high stress. But runners, long distance runners, high stress. So there is some research that shows it can be beneficial. We'd like to see some more come out, but.
Yeah, and runners is a more of a whole body stress too, because when you think of running, let's say 10, 20 miles at a time, that's more of a whole body stress than just going into the gym and doing some curls and maybe some dips and arms work, things like that. Running is more of a whole body stress response, so that's where the glutamine could come in and help.
Yeah, so we kind of say that as it may be beneficial is kind of how we do that. If you're an ultra marathoner, it certainly wouldn't hurt to do it if you're running that much. Next would be a multivitamin. Again, it's something that you can fill in the holes in your diet. That's where a multivitamin is going to help. We've already gone through some of the physiological responses to running. Beta-alanine is another one, and typically when we talk about beta-alanine, we're talking about fast-twitch muscle fiber because it's going to buffer acid that dissociates from lactic acid. But that acid can build up too in runners too. So
yeah, because the more demand you're putting in your body can build up these acids, and you could get that burn. This will help to buffer those acids.
Yeah, and your body naturally, makes beta-alanine in the liver. Also, you get it from, chicken and things like that. It's just supplementing. You can get a nice extra boost of it, and it's going to help maintain intracellular pH. So that's where that's going to help. We have protein bars here. Sometimes bars are good. It's a quick snack. It's another way to get some protein in your diet.
An alternative to a meal, or take it in addition to a meal.
Some people just like them, or if they're on the run, they have trouble, getting something to eat, so that can help. Protein powder, something overlooked a lot by runners.
Yeah, it is, definitely. A lot of times runners are focusing on carbs, but you've got to realize that once your body depletes itself of those carbs, it's going to look to get more glucose in the body, and it does that through a process called gluconeogenesis, which is the breakdown of proteins into carbohydrates or glucose. So by taking in some extra protein, not only can it help you recover from a workout, it can help you to preserve some of that lean mass you have, because runners don't want to be bulky, they don't want to be overly muscular, because that's not the intended goal, and plus you don't want to weigh yourself down, but you still want to hold on to some of that lean mass that you have.
And you need some protein. So again, if you're eating a ton in your diet, then fine, you may not need it, but that's sometimes hard to do for people, so that's where protein powder is going to help, for supplementing those needs. Next we have on the list is vitamin D. Vitamin D we'd recommend to anybody. Is more and more we're finding out about vitamin D, the more and more health benefits we're finding. Research, study after research, study, for women, a reduced rate of breast cancer. There's some other forms of cancer too we've seen, reducing risk of heart disease.
There's some
diabetes.
newer studies for men in correlation with testosterone and the amount of testosterone males are producing. So it's tied into a lot of different hormones and functions in the body.
And vitamin D, actually, we could think of as more of a hormone than it is a vitamin. We do call it a vitamin, but really it's more of a hormone. And the thing with vitamin D as well is that it's going to increase your immune system. So if you're staying healthy, you're going to be able to train more. So that's always beneficial. So again, vitamin D, we encourage you to look it up. You'll find a lot of research. You really don't have to dig much for it. There's a lot of human studies on it. So, and more and more. And if you say, well, I'm in the sun a lot, well, if you're wearing sunblock, you actually really, really reduce your body's ability to produce vitamin D. So something else to consider. So that's another thing. Next would be, what do we have up here? Oh, iron. Iron for women specifically. Again, it's diet related. You can easily get a blood test to figure out if you're deficient in iron. Females, especially losing blood, premenopausal women, who we're talking about here, it could be a good idea to supplement iron, or make some changes in your diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can get iron from red meat, things like that, but not many people are eating a lot of red meat, or if you're someone who doesn't eat red meat at all, so it's a nice...
Well, it depends. Some people eat it.
Yeah,
a lot of women tend not to eat as much, it seems, and plus with the losing of blood, I think, is really what it comes down to. But it's an easy test. I mean, if you go to give blood, they test for iron right there, so you'll know. Next would be calcium. Obviously, for bone health, I mean, lots of research. We know calcium is heavily involved in keeping bones healthy. So runners, obviously, you want to make sure you're keeping your joints and your bones healthy. And again, that's another thing that's diet related. But even on top of that, there seems to be some pretty significant research to show, especially in women. Again, usually not only hormones, but also diet as well. Women tend to lack that a little more.
Yeah, that's why you see so many instances of osteoporosis in women. So calcium is important, especially when doing this this exercises like running. You're sweating a lot. You're losing a lot of vitamins and minerals out of your sweat, specifically a lot of like minerals or electrolytes. And taking in a good calcium supplement is something good.
Yeah, and you see the ads now for like Boniva and all these drugs, which, then you hear the side effects for hours on end. So it's like, we're not saying we're anti every drug. We understand that sometimes there's a place for them, but if it's something you can really get a control under, if you're a younger woman especially, to get your blood levels checked, and like I said, if supplementing it is really not a bad idea. We do have more in-depth reviews on calcium too, so you can check out those videos as well. Another thing that come up that we did some research and we found was choline. I think we have it up here. We have one up here. Specifically, I found for choline, and again, this is for longer distance runners. This isn't for your 5K people. They found that when you run long distance, you're going to decrease your choline levels, and that's needed, and that can impair performance. It's going to impair performance due to a decrease in acetylcholine synthesis. It's going to increase muscle damage. So having more choline seemed to benefit. The dose on it was a little bit high from a lot of the research we found. It's about 3.5 grams a day. There was another study that showed people were taking 2.5 grams immediately before a race and 2.5 during. But there was some significant performance enhancement by taking choline. So
yeah, choline's very important for brain function.
Exactly.
So it's something that
independent of just this, this, since we're specific to runners, there are some other studies that show it can be beneficial to brain health and the production of acetylcholine. So that's something else too. We have a shaker bottle here too. I forgot to mention that's something that makes it easier for people if you're on the run. Sometimes people who run a lot, you're committing a lot of time to your training, and assuming you have a job or if you have kids, some little things can make things more convenient. So having a shaker bottle with you with some protein powder can make it a lot easier. Bring a banana, almonds. Just because you have a supplement doesn't mean you can't combine it with whole food. You sometimes feel like, I'll have a little protein, eat some almonds for some healthy fats, and have a banana or some kind of fruit, or make a smoothie out of it. So
yeah, exactly. And that's the cool thing with the blender bottle is a little metal thing inside there can help break up anything.
Yeah, and most whey proteins are going to mix pretty easy too, and a lot of the blended ones now too. They're pretty easy to mix, so you're not going to get another exercise session and trying to mix your protein powder. So there's a lot of supplements out here, obviously, and as we said at the top of the video, a lot of what's going to dictate what you need is going to be based on your own diet and just how frequently you're training and stuff. So I hope we were able to give you a little bit of idea of some supplements that can help out, and a lot of this can be figured out if you need it or not from a blood test. And again, being healthy there's no lack of a correlation between being healthy and good performance. So if you're healthy, you can perform better. So.
Exactly.
So if you guys have any questions, I hope we were able to touch on a lot of it. We'll go ahead and post them in the comments section. Also, you can check us out at facebook.com/bestpricenutrition. Thank you.